Hey, here we are.
What's up,
Hey,
party people?
how's it
We are
going?
we're
Todd.
live. I know you guys have been waiting for this all year long. You're so finally on AWS on air. But maybe let's start with some introductions. Let the folks know who you are and what do you do at AWS. Lee, let's start with you. I'll
Sure.
just
Yeah,
pick one.
yeah. Don't want us to just talk over people.
Dude, talking on
Hey,
the internet
everyone.
is so weird, isn't it? It's like, I do that at least 4 times an episode, and so I apologize to the audience and to our guests if I start to talk over you. So Lee, I'll shut up. You go.
Thanks. All right, thanks. Hi, everyone. My name is Lee Keir. I'm a principal solutions architect aligned to Amazon S3. So that's what I work on.
Hey
Cool.
everybody, my name's Ruhi Sood. I am a product manager on the Amazon S3 team, and I work on the product that we're going to be talking about today, the feature called S3 Metadata.
Yeah, and I'm chomping at the bit here because I'm so excited because I got a question for the chat. What was the second oldest service that AWS has offered to customers? Name it in the chat, and if you get it right, you'll get a free high five. Right there.
Forget.
But I'm really excited.
Kyle's already given out high fives.
Yeah.
It's early in the show for that.
If I know. No, it's not. Yes. All right. We got someone in
Hey, we do got
Twitch
someone.
channel saying S3.
There's a little controversy about that, though. Kyle.
Uh-oh, let's hear it.
Some say, was it SNS or SQS? And some say
Well,
S3.
Well, SQS had the first beta, the first offering, but the first GA was S3.
But we don't see an SQS mascot running around Reno.
That's very true.
Buckets
Yeah.
We
everywhere.
gotta be clear on the terms here. What are we talking about? That's I didn't know that. I learned that today. Thanks for that. So, but we're talking about S3, and S3 obviously over the years has expanded into many new features and new things, and that's still happening now with S3 metadata. So we're gonna get into it. I want to understand first before we get into what metadata is. Like, what was the problem that we were trying to solve? Like, help us understand why do we need this feature at all?
So, Todd, how the data lakes are growing crazy today. Most of the customers in S3 are managing massive amounts of data. Customers are managing at least terabytes, if not petabytes of data in S3. And understanding this complex data landscape that they have is very challenging. Either you don't know what you have, or it's very time consuming, very resource intensive to build your own custom indexes and figure out what type of data do you have. The idea with S3 metadata was to offer a very simple but a very powerful way for customers to accelerate data discovery in their S3 buckets. So it's whether you want to gain insights into what your usage landscape is, which objects are encrypted, or just general S3 infrastructure. This is such a powerful tool. It can help you transform all of this data complexity into clarity and basically help customers make more informed decisions about their cloud storage. So that's where we started with as a problem statement.
Yeah, I can imagine. So data lakes, the term we're more often, and I for the data lakes that I was managing, it's easy when it's just a couple you get started in just a few objects, and you just a couple tens of objects. Then all of a sudden it explodes, and then you're handling millions of objects. I think we have actually a poll question for our audience. How many data lakes are running on S3 today? I know we have a fancy poll system, but I'm just going to throw that one out there. How many data lakes do you think are on S3 today? It's a total number of data lakes. I'll give people time to answer that. So these lakes are massive, and we need to understand what data is in that data lake. What were customers doing to try to do that, solve that on their own?
So before S3 metadata, customers would there were just two options. You would have to DIY a custom solution. So customers would orchestrate the collection of all of this metadata, the management of this metadata, keeping it, your data lake continues to grow. So this can't be a one-time activity. So you have to build pipelines that will continuously refresh it. And besides time, this is resource intensive. It takes time away from the actual use case you're trying to work on. And sometimes they would create custom solutions. Sometimes they would use third-party solutions. But with everything, it was time-consuming, resource-intensive, and it required them to understand how to build, maintain these pipelines. And we decided to jump in and bring the power of AWS and decided to do it for them. And that's how S3 Metadata came into being.
Yeah, nice. Kyle, what you got?
So I always think about so when I talk to customers, the problem they're trying to solve, from a security aspect, for those that are new to the show, I'm a security person. What do they do with this massive amounts of data, and how can they understand, what sort of data do they have? Yeah. Some customers may opt to have like an S3 bucket, which is an object store for those new to the service. S3 lets you store objects no matter what it is. And then it just grows from there. And then they're like, oh my gosh, we have this giant bucket. What data is actually in here? And we have Macy that'll help identify like, PHI or like sensitive types of information. But, sometimes it can be overwhelming.
It can be.
And you're talking about petabytes? That's this many, as my daughter. It's just like that many.
Well, yeah, Kyle, and you're either spending all that time looking for the object, or you're spending all that time designing and building something that will help you look for the object. And it just I get it. It can become a mess. So, Ruhi, what did we do to help with this? Like, what are we launching? What are we talking about today? The S3 metadata, but what does that really mean?
What does it mean?
So let me break down what does S3 metadata do for you today. What S3 metadata does, it's a managed feature. So for every new object that comes into your bucket, or in fact, every change that you make into your bucket, we will provide the metadata for that object or for those changes in something called S3 tables. S3 tables is also a feature that was launched this reInvent. It's managed Iceberg tables. What that means is that we maintain the metadata, we provide the metadata, maintain it for you, and you can easily query that metadata. Like it's near real time. You're adding objects, you're making changes, we're taking it into an Iceberg format, putting it in S3 tables, and it's available for you to query in near real time. You can get metadata about your objects, object size, storage class, KMS key yarns, and in fact, even user-defined metadata tags. We've heard a lot at reInvent on about how customers want us to expand it in the variety of metadata that they want. And we're actively working on some of that. But today there is a lot of standard object level metadata that is available as customers are adding and updating the objects.
Yeah, there's so much to unpack there. I have so many questions, but first I'm going to check in on our poll here. We've got a few guesses coming in. I see one for 10K. That seems a little low to me for the number of data lakes. Another one in the millions, which seems maybe a little bit more. Should we just reveal the answer now and just get on with it? Yeah, millions, 10K. I have on my cheat sheet here more than 1 million data lakes on S3.
That does it become an ocean instead?
Yeah.
It's a lot.
That is a lot.
That is a lot.
Yeah, I can imagine. I think the more data becomes the lifeblood of organizations, and everybody's seeing the value of data, especially now with generative AI. We can get into how this supports that, but a lot of people are turning to data lakes to organize all that data into one place, and S3 is a great place to do that. So this feature is very timely. So you're saying, okay, so let's get back to what you were saying. An object stored in a bucket is composed of a couple different things. One, just the bits and bytes that make up that object. That's obviously the thing that's being stored. But then there's all this data that describes what that is. How big is the file? What's the name of it? What type of file is it? When was it created? All of those different things. That's the metadata, and those features help us understand what's in there. So if we can catalog and index that well, we can more quickly find what we're looking for. How'd I do?
That you did very well. In fact, I can give you some examples. Like if you're trying to understand, like I have, tell me the storage that is associated with my tag foo. Like you can answer, it used to take so much effort for customers to answer questions like this before, or tell me all of the objects in my bucket that have this particular KMS key are. or don't have it. And you could just do like simple queries like listing objects that are not encrypted, or just understanding how much usage you have against your user-defined metadata. These things are so much simpler with S3 metadata now. We also have so on the you mentioned Gen AI side, so I'll bring that up.
Yeah, how does we can't go an episode without saying Gen AI at least a handful.
It's important.
We
10K.
made it 17 minutes in.
Okay, but no, that is I can understand this is gonna have impact. Like what does this have to do with generative AI, Ruhi? I cut you off.
No. So all good. So there are a couple of things I want to mention. One, customers are not just using it for data discoverability, they're actually also using it for data analytics. Like I said, these queries are actually going to help you figure out what objects make more sense for your analytical use case, and you can quickly find it, feed it to your models, so as to say. The other aspect of this is we also have, if Bedrock's async API is writing an object to S3 today, it annotates that object. So it's very easy for you to look up and see that this particular object was written by Bedrock, and this is the particular model that produced that object. So it's easier for customers to differentiate between synthetic data and raw data that way. So that's also a capability that we're really pumped up about. We were very excited to work on that, making it easier to see what's like, ML generated.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense, because there's going to be, I imagine, some regulatory requirements coming, if not already, in some parts of the world, where you're going to have to be able to answer that question: is this synthetically generated or not? I think there's also, Kyle and I hosted, like we were mentioning in the beginning of the show, we hosted at reInvent this year. We talked to Dr. Swami, and he said, AWS has always been there's no one model to rule them all. And so there's going to be these like kind of finely tuned models that do things really well. And maybe you want to know what model created this thing to answer that question. Which models are performing? Maybe which ones we could lean on a little bit more. And so you're saying we can start to answer those questions from our data because it's cataloged in this thing. So you said it was in Iceberg tables. Now, how do we actually query it? Maybe this is a question for the demo. Is this what we're going to see in the demo? I'm getting ahead of myself.
You might actually see it in the demo.
Exactly. What
should we jump into the demo? I think we should jump into the demo.
All right, let's do it. All right, let me share my screen.
Let's go. All right, ski on down there.
Slide right into that demo. Nice.
Right. Nicely done. All right, so this is the S3 console. And excuse me as I look up. That's where my screen is. So the first thing we said it had to go into a table bucket. So we talked about these. Oh, that's awesome.
It's okay. We could tear that down. Nick, bring it down.
Just a reminder for our audience, we are live. And things happen at a live demo. I want to know, has anybody else on the chat been on a demo? I want to hear your worst, like, where did it go wrong? I'm sure there's some good stories out there.
Oh my gosh.
I can tell the story, which is that on Pi Day last year, my laptop died right in the middle of the demo.
Well, and Lee, I did us a disservice. It's tradition on this show, at least when I'm around, that we do a demo dance. We didn't do the demo dance.
You have to appease the demo gods, yeah.
All right, demo dance completed. Wow, I'm a little dizzy.
Dance completed.
To your question though, on Iceberg, I think that's where Lee was going. We launched this feature called S3 tables, and it stores all of the tables are stored in an Iceberg format today. And what that means for our end customers is that you get better performance. You can query your data much faster. We take care of the table maintenance for you, so you do not have to do a lot of table management, compaction stuff, etc. So effectively, this S3 metadata takes advantage of these capabilities, and the metadata is stored in that S3 table for customers to query it.
Yeah, and we have some good sessions from reInvent on S3 tables. I actually hosted that segment, and it was I got to see that firsthand. But presumably the service we would use to query that would be something like Amazon Athena.
Yeah. So you can use Athena, you can use Redshift, they're open source engines. I think Lee, you probably want to take it from here.
Yeah, let's continue on.
Yeah, let's get into it.
You can see my screen is back up. So the first thing we have to do is we have to create a table bucket. So this is really super easy. I'm just going to call it my test bucket. And you'll also notice this down here. So we've got this integration status is already set. So this is already enabled. So the very first time the table bucket, it's going to do that integration for you. And what that means is it's just going to be really simple for us to actually query this from Athena. And I'll show you exactly how to do that.
It's going to connect some bits in the background for us so we don't have to.
Do some,
this is S3 tables, what we're seeing now.
Right, that's right. And then we need to actually go and configure S3 metadata. So here I have a regular general purpose bucket. You can see that it's S3 metadata secondary, some little bits here, and it already has some data. And then right next to that, you see metadata. And all we need to do, we just click this create metadata configuration. We're going to browse, and I'm going to actually pick my previously created table bucket like that. And then you'll see it has this metadata name. Now, I don't like this stuff at the end here, so I'm just going to take that off. You can name this anything you like. Create, and it's going to take just a couple minutes to create that. Now, as soon as I've done that, now once requests start coming into my bucket, puts and deletes, anything that mutates or changes the data, that'll be recorded in that metadata bucket. So now there is one thing we do need to do. I said there was some integration done, but we do want to make sure we have some permissions. You may not want to let everyone in the account be able to access this bucket via Athena. So
especially not the Kyles of the world. You got to watch out for guys like Kyle.
X.
For sure. So
I mean, did you see that demo dance? I mean, come on.
But this catalog is already created here. We didn't have to do anything. That was already done in that integration. So we didn't have to create that. All we need to do is actually create the permissions we want. So we go and grant. We're going to go ahead and pick our user. We're just going to pick this admin user. And then we're going to go and we see we've got our catalog here already. We need to take that one out. We get this one. This is the actual table bucket that I created. Now the database is always going to be this S3 AWS S3 metadata if it's for the metadata configuration. And then I can pick this, but I'm going to pick all tables because I want to be able to do for all of the tables I have in there. We're going to select, describe, and select and describe, and then go ahead and grant.
Okay, got it. So we have to. So that was a permission scoping thing. So we have to first tell it what we want to offer permissions to, and where we want to store some of that stuff, and then what can they specifically do, and then what they can specifically do.
What they can specifically do. Now we actually have to do it also. So that was at the table level. We actually also need to do this at the database level. So we actually do have to do these two. And in this case, we're going to do the create table and describe, create table and describe, and hit grant. I should also mention there is a blog that I was a co-author on that goes through all of this. So you don't need to worry about trying to keep up, what exactly do I need to hit? You can go and look at that blog. Hopefully you can put that in
we'll
chat.
Drop a link there in the chat. If you're paying attention and not busy thinking about skiing.
Absolutely. Right. All right. So now when we go to Athena, it's actually, this is all be pre-populated. You can see we've got our S3 table catalog and S3 metadata bucket. And our database, as I said, will always be this S3 metadata. And then we've got our tables down here. Now, let's go ahead so we can open this up and we can see all of the fields that we have here. Some of the ones we talked about before, like the source IP address, the user metadata, and object tags. So it'd be great. We probably should mention something about these. So there's two different kinds of metadata that you can automatically have S3 metadata organized for you. So you have user-defined metadata, and this is something that you upload with your request, right? So this is immutable, stuff that just is part of the object, stuff that's not going to change. And then you have object tags, which you can change. So that's for your mutable things that maybe it's the project that it's in or something like that. But so there's a difference there between which ones you want to use depends on whether it's an immutable aspect of the data or attribute, or if it's something that might change. And you can do both of those in here. And then, so let's just go ahead and just preview the table. Let's just see. So you'll notice I used the S3 primary here instead of the secondary one I created because, as I said, it starts collecting once you turn that on. So this has been on for a while, so I've already got some data in here. So look at this. All right, so we've got our bucket, key, sequence number. This is just something to make it unique. Then you have your record type. So this is something where we created an object or put an object. Here we updated metadata and we changed the tag, and then these are deletes. So we can see all of when that happened, version ID, whether it's a delete marker, you see for the ones where it's deletes, it was true. The size where it's not a delete. When it happened in GMT, storage class, multi-part, the encryption type, except for it's delete. We also have our checksum, right? This is our new checksum algorithm. And then here's our object tags and user metadata. So this is, here we did actually have some user metadata on this particular object. We can see where it came from, request ID. So those are the fields we can see for all of them.
So if Todd were to go into an S3 bucket that has metadata, logging, and all that stuff, sorry, I kind of shortchanged it. Would we be able to see like Todd deleted this object, or would we still need to use something like data events within CloudTrail to see that?
Specifically to see if Todd did it, we might. We do get to see, you can see we get to see the source IP and the requester. So we know the account, but we don't necessarily know if it was Todd.
Okay. Okay, cool.
Right.
But if that's a feature that you want, please do let us know in the chat. These are the type of questions we'd love.
Absolutely.
If you'd like to see the IAM role, we'd love feedback on that.
Yeah, Kyle never takes off his security hat, so he wants to know who did what always.
Right.
But my wheels are spinning. I can see all kinds of ways that this could be useful for like assessing. I'm not even going to get into it. I'm just saying, but because this is sort of the data foundation layer, right? Like we have this data now stored, we can easily query it. Presumably, there's a next step we can start to really run the business analytics, the maybe QuickSight, pull this into a QuickSight dashboard, and start to do the analysis over time. I want to hear what the audience has to think about what we're seeing here. This is getting
my security brain is racking on what we can do as far as like providing security context around this for data inventory. Even we'll go ahead and bring your demo down because we gotta unfortunately time is a scarce resource and we can't put that into a metadata table in there. But what we can do is do a pizza stop on this. It was lovely to talk to you about, one, the awesome service that is S3, and then also this new feature and what it can do to expand the horizons of data inventory when it comes to even the petabytes. I'm looking at an S3 bucket right now that's only like 100 megs, and there's like 15 objects in there. I'm already overwhelmed. Can't even imagine petabytes of objects.
Yeah.
And then prefixes.
Turn on metadata, Kyle.
I was following along. I did. All right, friends. Well, it was lovely to chat with you too. We're going to unfortunately have to say goodbye. Wave to the audience.
It was our pleasure.
It was lovely.
Thank you.